Hey, don't you love polygons? Yeah, me too. They're so cool. In fact, I think I'm going to become a low poly version of myself. Yeah, this was a bad idea. Remember the fourth generation of consoles? It's the generation that was consistently labeled as the golden age of gaming. We got so many great games this generation. One problem with that is that gamers had no idea what was coming next. Well, actually, that's a lie. Everybody knew what was going to be next. It was going to be 3D games. And that was all thanks to Sony with their console, the PlayStation 1. The PS1 was Sony's first jump into the video game market, with its main marketing being 3D. That was also solidified with one of its most iconic games, Crash Bandicoot. It being a 3D platformer kinda stole the spotlight from Nintendo. They were, and always have been, the kings of platformers. So seeing this up-and-coming rival who could potentially screw up Nintendo's sales for that generation, they got to work on their next console. The Nintendo 64 came out in 1996 with two launch titles, Pilotwings 64, because you can't say big leap forward in gaming without Pilotwings, and the other launch title being Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64 was Nintendo's biggest hit on the system, and definitely the most iconic. I mean, think about it, it's a Mario game that helped revolutionize basically the entirety of the gaming industry. People love this game to death for so many reasons that I'll get into later. But now, is Mario 64 really that great? Or is it one of the weaker Mario games? Well, now's the point in the review where I go over the development history of the game, so I'll do that real quick. Believe it or not, a 3D Mario game was actually being thought of as far back as the SNES. The creator of the Mario series, Shigeru Miyamoto, was making Star Fox. During the development, he thought a 3D Mario game would be very fun as well. No, that doesn't mean Super Mario 64 is planned for the SNES. It was just thought of during Star Fox's development. It wasn't until 1994 when the game would actually be put into development. And we do know some things about this game's development. We know that they were going to include the flagpole from the 2D games at the end of the level, but then they decided they were going to go with a more open-ended level design. Multiplayer was planned as well, with Luigi being the second character. However, he was cut pretty late in development, as in the summer of 2020, a giant Nintendo leak happened that showed a lot of betas for games, and in Super Mario 64's beta, Luigi had a full model. The game was then released in 1996. So is the game good? Yes, it is.
It's me, Mario! Hello!
This right here might just be what Nintendo needed for this game. This screen with Mario really shows what 3D graphics can do, like you can actually see Mario's chubbiness. You can even move him around with the control stick and A button. Pressing start, we can then open a new file, where we are treated to an opening cutscene. I really like this cutscene, it's nice and charming. After that, we enter the castle. In the castle, we get to choose which levels we want to play by hopping into a painting. Inside of each painting world, you can collect a star. I'll touch more on a star's purpose later though, don't worry your pretty little head. There are 6 stars to collect in each painting world, with an optional 7th if you collect 100 coins in the world. There are 120 stars to collect in the entirety of the game. Now, I like to divide this game up into 3 parts: the main floor, the basement, and the second floor. You can start off on the main floor, but to get to the second floor, you must collect enough stars to open up the stargates. What's behind the stargates? Well, they hold Bowser levels. Bowser, being the main antagonist, had to be the villain in the Plumber's first 3D game. It only made sense. So you go through these platforming stages, which then culminate in a battle with the Fat Turtle himself. That's not bullying, is it? There's some other boss fights in the game too. They're not as good as the Bowser fights, and there aren't too many either. But anyways, let's get back to the Bowser levels. Being 100% honest here, the platforming part of these stages are my favorite levels of the game. My reasoning is that these are more challenging than your average level, which makes you think outside the box more, which in tandem makes you use Mario's vast moveset. I love all of Mario's jumps. They're so versatile and fun to pull off. It pays off to get good at any 3D Mario game. Like sure, you can probably get through the game with the normal jump and the ground pound, but once you learn how to do the long jump, triple jump, backflip, and side flip, it saves time in a level and it is much more rewarding to pull off. It's a nice innovation as well. In 2D Mario, you could do a normal jump and the spin jump in Super Mario World. But now Mario has completely new jumps, and hey, the spin jump sort of makes a return if you count bouncing off of things. Speaking of new things that Mario got, he now has a new voice. It's not full-on voice acting, it's just little things. When you jump, get hurt, die, or complete a level, he just spurts out a random catchphrase. It's charming, and hey, he's not the only one with a voice. Peach and Bowser have voice lines as well. Even the Cut Luigi has some unused voice lines. I really love it. There are 3 power-ups in Mario 64. The Wing Cap, which lets you fly, the Invisible Cap, which lets you pass through objects, and the Metal Cap, which lets you walk underwater and grants you limited invincibility. Each power-up has a unique theme too. It's a really nice touch. If I had to pick a favorite power-up, I'd say the Metal Cap. The Wing Cap is a little hard to control, and you can get a lot of stars without the Invisible Cap anyways. Well, now's probably the best time to talk about the levels themselves, right? Okay, Mario 64's levels are charming. You've got the generic grass, desert, water, fire, and snow levels, but you've also got more original level themes. There's an island where the objects and inhabitants fluctuate in size, a geometric world flooded with water that is also home to an abandoned city, a cloud kingdom, if you will, which has a flying cruise ship, and the inside of a grandfather clock. The worlds are basically the opposite of the aforementioned Crash Bandicoot. That game's levels were linear and followed a point A to B type of structure. Mario 64, on the other hand, have much more open-ended levels where you can tackle them however you want. It's very cool. It's just too bad that they're not designed the best. Okay, so listen. You'll be running around in the game, then go to make a jump. Then you'll miss and slide down the slope all the way to your death. This damn game is so clunky in both the level design and the controls. There's so many slopes and slides and cliffs here that are very unforgiving if you up. And the controls, whoo boy! It's not tank controls, but Mario feels kinda heavy while platforming. It's hard to change directions quickly and maneuver through the air. Now, I hate to judge a game based on its age, but these problems are obviously here due to the fact that this was an early 3D platformer. The game works best with the original Nintendo 64 controller, while something like the Switch Pro controller works, or hell, even mouse and keyboard if you go the route of emulation. They're definitely the weakest way to control this game. This game has aged very poorly, and that's a damn shame. However, just because the game is aged poorly, doesn't mean that there's no fun to be had here. Some of these stars are super fun. I genuinely get a smile on my face when seeing some of these stars. Some of my favorites are the foot races with Koopa the Quick, the various red coin collection stars, and the simple, reach this point of the level to win type stars. There's also some stars I hate getting. While playing the game, I frequently find myself running around the castle trying to find a star I actually want to get, especially in the last third of the game. At the end of the game, you fight Bowser for the final time in an epic battle. It's a little underwhelming. It's the same Bowser fight you've been doing throughout the entire game, so it doesn't feel too special. The platform transforms into a star though, so that's pretty fun, I guess. The atmosphere for this fight, however, is very great. The music is intimidating, the lighting is dark, and it really feels like everything you've done up until this point has led right here. It's definitely the best boss fight in the game. So then you beat Bowser, and the game's done. Mario flies off back to the castle, meets Princess Peach, and then the credits roll. So is Mario 64 a good game? Yeah, of course it is. I know I complained a lot about the game, but it's really because of the game's age. This game's turning 25 years old in 2021, of course it's gonna age poorly. I am of the belief that only a few select games don't age poorly before the 7th generation of consoles, and this game definitely aged. Now that's not a bad thing. Just because the game has aged poorly doesn't mean it's bad. People love this game. Look at the community centered around just this one game. ROM hacks, 3D animated machinimas, speedruns, fan-made remake content. Those of you taking part of these communities have my respect. This stuff is so cool. Now, you might want to play this game, and you have a couple options to do so. You can track down an original N64 copy of the game, which can run you about $100 at the lowest according to price charting. You can emulate the game on PC, get the DS remake, which is more like the Final Fantasy VII remake, where it changes and adds a lot of things, so it's not really like the N64 game. You can get the game on Wii U, or you can get it on Switch, for a limited time. Yeah, so Mario 64 was included in Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Not going into my thoughts on the collection itself, but it's only available until March 31st, 2021, which at the time of me writing this is in 1 week. So if you want to get this collection legitimately, you better hurry up, Chief. So that was Super Mario 64, a super fun 3D platformer with a lot of clunk. Oh, and polygons! You can't forget the polygons. You can't.
Number 7. Condoms found in food.